So let's go back to the day, right? So I hit the barrier, and it's July 2016. I'm lying on the floor, my face in the ground, and it's a very scary moment. I reach up to my face, which is, I had sensation above my neck. So I reach up to my face to kind of rub the bit that hurts, you know, where you've smashed your face in the ground. It felt like I'd been punched in the face. I had that sort of shock moment. And as I reached up to touch my face, nothing happened. And that was an incredibly scary moment, because nothing, my body didn't move. I meant it to move. I wanted it to move. I'd intended to do that, but nothing happened. And that scared the life out of me. So I went to do that again, and again, nothing happened. And it was at that point that I realized that I may well have done something very serious, or that I had done something very serious, and that I was paralyzed. Now, obviously, that's a shocking moment. That's a moment where you don't know what to do or how to think, or you know, what your next move is. You know, everything's up in the air at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found myself feeling that rising panic, as you might imagine. You know, I can feel it rising from my chest up to my throat, and like rising, almost like being strangled by this situation. And an interesting thing happened, actually, because as I was doing that, I literally kicked in my brain over my body, and I went, stop. This isn't going to help you. You panicking like this is totally understandable, but it's not going to help you in any way. So you need to put it to one side, and you'll come back to it later, and you'll deal with it later. But right now, you need to stop and focus on what your next move is, and how you're going to improve this situation. It was 6:30 in the morning, right? So I was down by the Thames. There wasn't many people around, or there weren't many people around. And I was able to put some of that fear aside and muster enough strength to be able to call out to a couple of runners who happened to be nearby. So I was very lucky, actually, that there were people nearby. I could have well been on my own, but I wasn't. And I was able to attract the attention of these two runners who came over. And when you look back on the scenario now, it's a weird one, because you'd think you'd be in bits and panicking and all that sort of stuff. And if you'd have asked me how would I respond about to that injury before the injury happened, I'd say exactly that. I'm not the most held together person, just as a matter of course. But at that very moment, I was able to pull myself together, and I called over one of the ladies and said, right, this is my name. This is what I think I've done to myself. I need you to phone the ambulance. I need you to tell them that I've had an accident here, and this is where we are, and kind of all the information. It's really interesting. And then the second person I called across, and I said, okay, you need to call my wife. This is her name. This is my phone number. You don't need to tell her that I've had a serious accident and I'm going to go to hospital, but you need to tell her that I've been involved in an accident and I will be going to hospital. So keep it on the down low, but don't scare her, but tell her where I'm going to be. And so I kind of managed the situation. Mm-hmm. Which was an interesting time at that moment. And then as I fast forward through to the rehabilitation process, then my mindset was always relatively managing. You know, it was relatively, I had my dark times. I had those 4 a.m. moments where I've cried my fair share of tears, and you ask yourself the kind of why me scenarios, to which there isn't an answer, actually. You know, as soon as you can move from why me to why not me, then that becomes a very different situation, right? There's no reason why I'm special and that I shouldn't have been the person that breaks their neck. People break their neck every day. Every 4 hours, somebody breaks their neck and is paralyzed. Or rather, every 4 hours, someone gets a spinal cord injury that leaves them paralyzed. So if that's the case, then why not me? And with that sort of mindset, I was able to accept what was happening. And with acceptance came a degree of power, I suppose, a degree of being able to change the future, change the course of where I was going, because whilst it was happening to me and there were some things that were just simply out of my control, there were a number of elements to that with acceptance, I could get my head around the fact that I could control what I could control. And I was a part of the team that was making my situation better. Mm-hmm. Rather than it happened to me. And I had a whole team of people, doctors, nurses, surgeons, physiotherapists, all sorts of people. Rather than me be their patient, I was on the same team. I was on the same side. And I think that sort of mentality was very important in taking action to move forwards.
if we go back to when you basically